It's time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Giorgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Giorgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Giorgio Says podcast starts now. All right, you guys, welcome to another episode of Giorgio Says the podcast. Today's episode, guys, is going to be a combination of a recap of Potomac, which is not very lengthy at all, but unfortunately an episode that was supposed to go out on Friday, recapping Real Housewives of Miami with Caitlin Marshall from Besties by Bravo. I fell ill. And so I basically have been trying to recover the entire weekend, but I am here for you guys. I'm just going to kind of put the two recaps in one, because like I said, Potomac was not, as we know, it's not really happening. It's nothing really going on. There's a few little things that popped up on this past episode that I thought were pretty interesting. But other than that, I didn't feel the need to dedicate an entire episode for Potomac, only because it just seems very lackluster. But I figure it might be a good idea to put both recaps because there was a lot more that happened in Miami, and it needs to go out. So why not put them together? Anyways, guys, happy Sunday. I hope you all are enjoying the weekend. If you got snow, God bless you. It looks beautiful when it hits the ground, but after a day or two, when it freezes over, it's annoying. Also because it makes me just want to like stay in the house and eat all the carbs. Like I just want to eat pizza. I just want to have like bread. I just want to have all the good warming things that are not good for you to have that amount of. Like I could eat bread and pizza and carbs. Like I'm a huge carbs person. But nonetheless, I will not bore you with my love of carbs. We do have a little bit of quick tea, but I am going to just go ahead and skip quick tea today just because we are recapping Potomac, and I also have recapped Miami. So let's get right into this Potomac recap, you guys. All right. So as I mentioned, Real Housewives of Potomac is not really slapping this season. I am a bit disappointed in the content, if you will. I don't think the ladies had much going on, clearly, because they're giving us the best of what they shot, and the best is just not, it's not slapping for me, guys. And I know for you guys, it's the same. And when I put these recaps out every week, you guys echo my sentiments when I say this is a boring. But there were a few things that stood out to me in this episode, and I do have some opinions as always. But, you know, listen, the ladies are not moving the stories along very well, in my opinion. I think a lot of stuff could have been hashed out. We could have moved on from it a long time ago. I'm not sure why we're waiting until now to have the sit down with Candace and Robin. I feel like a lot of this stuff should have been done at the very beginning of the season. That way, Robin could say what she needed to say about this whole Juan hotel mistress situation and put it to bed. But instead, it's being dragged out. And now we're like halfway through the season and we're just still trying to figure things out. We still don't have a sit down with Wendy and Nneka over the things that Nneka claimed about Wendy and her mom. When, like, I know that's coming, but why are we pushing this so far along? Like, also, why are we getting scenes where there's just absolutely nothing happening? Like nothing. I don't mind a scene or two, like the lunch or the brunch or breakfast, whatever they were having. Giselle and Karen and their daughters. I thought that was beautiful. Sprinkle that in, but I don't need every scene to be this kumbaya moment. Let's be real. We're not watching you guys to kumbaya with you. There's some business that we need to tend to, ladies. And I feel like no one's really talking about it. You know, we get these weird moments of, like, for instance, Robin and Juan going to get stretched so that they can keep having this, like, narrative that they are a functioning marriage. And listen, I don't really care anymore if they're really in this relationship or they're not. To me, it just is very strange that nobody's questioning anything. The only person that questioned it for real was Mia last week. And that was the highlight of last week's episode. After that, it was filler. It was just filler content. And I just don't get it. I don't know what the ladies were up to this season or what they thought the season was going to be. Maybe they perhaps thought that they were all going to be able to come at Robin about what happened last season, but clearly that didn't pan out well because in Austin, we saw that got shut down when people started asking questions. So Robin is a clear case of you can hide something that happened to you when you're on a reality show from the rest of the women and play into something around similar speculation regarding the other women, even though you know this just happened to you, but you say you moved on from it and it's been squashed. So therefore, you're not going to throw your husband under the bus. Well, welcome to Real Housewives. That's what your job is. And look, I put myself in her shoes. Would it suck if my partner did this to me and it publicly came out and I had to take a lot of shit for it? Absolutely. The conversations, they would not be fun for my partner or whoever. Like, but I still know that I'm on this show. So I'm going to have to navigate that. So my opinion would have been to come out and be like, look, Juan, if you don't want this stuff out on the show, then your dumbass should have not done this stupid shit. So now I'm going to have to do damage control, but I still need to talk about what actually happened. And I'm going to have to answer the questions. And that's just the way it's going to be. If you don't want that, then don't be on the show. I'm so tired of people trying to cherry pick what they decide they want to share. I'm not saying you need to share everything. I agree with that. There should be a line. But the show is about Real Housewives. It's about your partnership, relationship. So when things go awry and you try to conceal that, but then it comes out through someone like me, that makes it look worse. It makes you look like you're not telling the truth or you're hiding stuff. When in fact, all you needed to do was just come out with it. But you're so scared to make Juan look bad, probably for a number of reasons. Probably because it's not going to help him get another job if you continue talking about this mistress situation. It's not going to help situations at home for you because we know he talks to you like garbage. And you're okay with it. So I don't like, this is where I don't have sympathy for Robin. She's so delusional in this situation that I think Juan is all she knows. And I think she's just way too scared to break free of that partnership. I don't understand why you have to keep him around if he's embarrassing you or talking to you the way he does on camera, and you're the one who's the breadwinner, who got you guys to a financial status when you guys were in the red initially getting on the show. Like, is that not enough validation for you, Robin, that you can do better? You can absolutely keep Juan in your life. He can absolutely be your best friend. He's the father of your children. You guys have a family to raise. That's fine. No one's saying that you shouldn't keep him around, but maybe shift these like storylines. I really just don't believe you guys have this marriage that you're portraying to have. I'm not buying it. But who am I? But like I mentioned, we did get a scene with, well, first I need to talk about this one scene because it was so funny. Karen Huger is a gem. She is the Grand Dame. Okay. I know Charisse is probably the Grand Dame of Potomac in real life, but in our hearts and on our TVs, it's always going to be Karen Huger. So she goes with her daughter, Raven. They go to get tattoos, which I think that is just so cool when you have a situation where your mom is like open to go get a tattoo with you. Obviously, something that has meaning, but like this was just such a cute moment. And I really like, I'm like enamored by like Raven. I think she's grown into this like beautiful woman who is just so charismatic and she's just, you can, first of all, she looks like Ray and Karen, but like right here, I sorry, I sense that she like got a lot of her uh looks from her dad, but she does have the sassiness of Karen. So it's just so funny to me because as Karen's getting her tattoo, it now mind you that it's on her ankle. Okay, so it's not the most comfortable situation, but it's not the worst. Like I have a tattoo here and there. Um, and yeah, no, it's not a spa moment, but it's not like she was just the sounds that she was making were just like an alarm because it was just so funny. She's like, whoop. And I'm like, can I please have that as my um morning alarm? Could you imagine Karen Huger waking you up in the morning? That would be something. So that was a fun moment. So like there's these little sprinkles in the episode that are funny, but overall it's very lackluster. It's very lackluster. We're pulling teeth. We're not really getting much out of anybody. It's like we're getting into some conversations about things, but then we're dropping it off and like not following up. So, for instance, Candace decides she wants to throw a Mother's Day brunch and host all the ladies with their moms and celebrate, you know, motherhood. And very beautiful event, stunning. I've actually been to this location for a different event, and it is absolute. If you guys ever need a place to get married, to host a party, this place, I don't remember the name of it. If I find it out and you guys really want, I will tell you what the name of it. It's right in DC. It's beautiful, stunning. Obviously, you guys saw the outside. It is so gorgeous, specifically in the spring, summertime. But the event was done beautifully. And most of all the ladies came. Giselle was not invited, obviously, because Candace doesn't want Giselle around when Giselle's been doing what she's been doing to Chris. And Wendy then decides she can't come because she has a book signing that same day. So she's not going to be able to make it. But I also think it was a little instrumental for her to not be there because obviously we know that if she would have gone, there would have been something that popped off. Like, could you imagine if Wendy showed up with her mom to this thing and NECA's there? And then, like, of course, it would have been a shit show. So, as much as I understand why Wendy didn't come, I think the episode really could have used that interaction because it's been talked about already. The accusation's been thrown out there. And I feel like we're going to get to a point where they're going to have a sit down. It's not going to get them anywhere. And it's just dragged on. I will say shout out to the editors for allowing us to have a little bit more screen time with NECA by herself, with her sister, so we can get a different perspective on her because all we see her doing is having conversations with others and mainly talking about Wendy. So it's nice to see her in a different element, nice to see her with her sister, because, you know, it changes up the dynamic and how you look at people. But at this Mother's Day brunch, nothing really happened. Charisse talked to Mia about how she ran into Jacqueline, and Jacqueline was crying to her because Charisse, I guess, was bringing up Mia. Now, after last week's episode, we learned a little bit more insight into why perhaps Mia's treated Jacqueline the way that she has, and it has everything to do with the fact that a situation happened, unfortunately, to Mia, where she was at a party with Jacqueline. Jacqueline left her, and Mia was raped. So I can understand that she is reacting and treating her friend in a resentful manner, even if it is subconscious, but she's now aware of it. But it's weird that Charisse A would be hanging out with Jacqueline, because I don't feel like Jacqueline would be at the same spaces as someone like Charisse. But again, who am I? But apparently, Jacqueline went from crying about the whole friendship with Mia to then talking smack about Mia to Nneka. And Nneka says it was about 2 hours that Jacqueline went on and on and on and told her the whole thing, just really filled her in, brought her up to speed. Listen, if Jacqueline is trying to get on this show, then I say let's go for it. Look, if I really no, I'm serious. I think Jacqueline is definitely someone that could be a friend of to the show. I think there's clearly stuff to unpack there with her and Mia. And as long as it's not Sesame Street coming on the show, then we're good. We don't need Ashley's friend. But I'll take Jacqueline. She was good last season. I'll give her that. She was good. She has potential. I think she has a history there. She's clearly building relationships with the other ladies that are on the show, outside of the show. So, you know what? I'm here for it. I'll let that happen, because I think that would be actually a good thing at this point. Because something's got to give, guys. You guys don't want to talk about stuff. You're running out of storylines that you've made up. You're running out of husbands to take down on the show. So what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Actually, maybe go back to season 1 and remind yourselves of why people fell in love with the show. Because it wasn't about taking people's husbands down and doing all this messiness. There was some actual fun, shady interactions that really drew people into watching the show to begin with. So maybe go remind yourselves, ladies, what the show was initially about within the group. But I'm not at the least bit interested. Like, I was not excited for the episode. I didn't even remember where we left off until they gave us a recap. So that says everything right there. But we do finally get a sit down with Candace and Robin. And look, we don't get these moments often, but I absolutely am glued right in when there's two people on a reality show talking about being on said reality show. That type of breaking the fourth wall is just, I don't know, you guys, maybe it's my love of reality TV and production and all that stuff. There's something about it. It's like, it gives me such a high. I love it so much. I love it when people are acknowledging that they're on the show while they're being filmed for the show. So anyways, Robin and Candace sit down because I think Candace is trying to look from Candace's perspective. I think she was right. Part of their job is to talk about each other, specifically while the season's airing or when something's happening. That is the truth. Now, did Candace feel some type of way, like a lot of us did, when we found out that Juan had this mistress and it was here and there and nothing was ever brought up, and here everyone is trying to malign Chris Bassett, you know? So from that perspective, I do understand why Candace would be angry, be reactive, okay? But it's also part of her job to do that. And I will say, if this was on the other foot, these other ladies would have done the same thing. Robin would have said something. Giselle definitely would have said something. So, like, I get why Robin was upset with Candace, because if Candace is supposed to be her friend, then why are you saying all these things? But are you my friend? Because you didn't even share anything. And so they talk about that. They say, well, like Candace says, part of being on the show is sharing our lives. And Robin's like, yes, but there's got to be a fine line. And the fine line for Robin is Juan Dixon. Yes, even if Juan's out here doing the messiest things, Robin will be right behind him, sweeping and mopping it all up, because she's not going to throw her husband under the bus. And she made that very clear. And she said, also, I would do it again. how much more can someone not care? I just don't understand what's the point? So now you're letting us know that even if he continued to act that way, you would still protect him. So meaning your stuff's off limits for the show. But you guys can dig into other people's business and hide your hands, because that's exactly what you guys did. And I think Robin, as much as she came off like she was defending Chris, she knew the entire time what the plan was. So sorry. And Giselle's done this time and time again. So if we're going to sit here and pretend like that's not what happened, that Ashley and Giselle and Robin allegedly weren't plotting to malign Chris, except that they probably said, oh, we all three can't be doing it because then that would look super obvious. So maybe one of you needs to go on defense and you know, side with Candace on it, push back. That's how I take it. I don't really, I think that Robin was totally a part of that, allegedly. Because really? But it's interesting because when you flip it to Robin, she laughs it off and pretends like, again, there's no accountability on her end. She's done nothing wrong. She never does anything wrong. Giselle never does anything wrong. Ashley doesn't ever do anything wrong. It's just the same thing. But then Candace reacts to something and it's like, now we're talking about that for 3 or 4 episodes or 4 seasons or whatever. It's just getting old. And for everyone out there that always wants to comment on Candace's reaction, I would absolutely love to see what you would do in those situations, friends. There's only so much somebody can take. And when someone's already a reactive person, yeah, is it their responsibility not to react to everything? Sure. But as someone who can be reactive myself, I've had to learn to pick and choose my battles. And I do see that Candace is doing that. She's not reacting to every single thing. I think in this instant, she was doing her job. Because Robin pulled the wool over everyone's eyes, production, all of it, to try to protect Juan. And why? Juan doesn't even, there's not ever a moment where he's being loving to you or doing something nice for you or being romantic. None of it. It's just, he's just there as a prop. And you're not even being authentic. That's my opinion. That's always been my opinion about Robin. There's nothing authentic about it. Nothing. It's like, we're just doing this for the check. So we're going to put on for the show, but that's about it. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to talk about this, but I will go help malign this person's husband. And I will deflect over here and talk about this person. Don't look over here. So the conversation between Robin and Candace does not obviously put them in a better place. It actually, in my opinion, made it worse. I don't think these two are going to be back to any type of friendship anytime soon. But, you know, we still have some time to go within the season. I also, yes, Wendy wasn't really in the show this episode all too much. She did have a scene where she met with some new producers because I guess the original producer she was working with wanted to own 50% of her show. And so Wendy said, absolutely not. So now she's gone to a new production team to try to solidify this for her talk show that she is producing on her own. So other than that, guys, that was pretty much Potomac. Yeah, not exciting. But if you guys watched, I'd love to hear your thoughts, specifically on the conversation between Candace and Robin, because I really did think that was an interesting conversation. How real it was. Like, it felt like they were really just sitting there without cameras talking about it because they referenced being on the show. And, you know, we love to break a fourth wall over here. So we love all of it. But yes, please let me know your thoughts and opinions and comments on everything regarding Real Housewives of Potomac. Let me know what you think this season. What should change? Do you think Jacqueline should come be a friend of the show? Let me know, guys. All right, so that's the Potomac recap. So let's now get into the recap with Real Housewives of Miami and our favorite bestie, Besties by Bravo, the host of Besties by Bravo podcast. Caitlin Marshall. Golly Nutrition is an inventive, people-focused nutrition company committed to providing innovative products that make taking your daily supplements simple and delicious. Their products are formulated with quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will absolutely enjoy. And at the core of it all, they lead with purpose. Golly for Good is an initiative committed to playing a profound role in supporting the health of our planet as well as our local communities. Learn more about their initiatives, such as B Corp certification, Vitamin Angels partnership, and Eden reforestation projects at their Golly for Good page. And if you use my special code, The Giorgio Says, at checkout, you will receive a special discount. Now let's get back into the episode. All right, everyone, let's get into this Real Housewives of Miami recap. I have a bestie in the house again. I think we're going to make this official every week.
Let's do it.
Caitlin's with us, recapping the Real Housewives of Miami. So before we get into this episode, I just want to point out that I absolutely appreciate that we're getting more of Kiki's backstory. Coincidentally, it is swim week this week on the episode, and we have not one but two housewives walking the runway. So that was very nice to see. But we start off this episode basically with Julia, and she's getting herself prepared to get back on the runway. And if we remember last season, she had met with some folks to try to revamp her modeling career. She'd felt that she was, past the age, past the body type, but now things are more inclusive. And so this is very exciting for her. So she gets to meet up with the designer, try on what she's wearing. I personally think she could have wore like an actual bikini, but
yeah,
nonetheless.
She has a fantastic body. We could have seen a little more of it.
She's stunning. She's tall. She's very she commands presence clearly. But so we get her in her fittings, and then we dive right into Kiki, who is also going in to meet with her designer to get fitted and go through all that. And this is where this was actually heartbreaking. We find out that at 15 years old, she decided she wanted to really dive headfirst into this modeling world. So she started looking for photographers to, do what you do, build a portfolio, get your pictures like they tell you to do. And I guess culturally, which I can kind of understand, she says that her stepmom and stepdad, once they started seeing some of these photos that were a little bit more risque, a little bit more body showing, they automatically deem that as porn. And so they basically discarded her at 15. And so sad, because it's it's so cut and dry. It seems like there was no room for a conversation. They didn't even try to understand what it was that she was doing, that it was not porn. But she said she had to just figure out how she was going to make it work. And clearly she did, thankfully. But, this means a lot more to her than just another show that she gets to walk in. This is really something that she really worked hard for. And we also know from last week's episode that she had planned a whole party after the swim week for the ladies to come to. She made it so that they all could come. And I loved how they both were able to walk and they were able to support each other's runway show. I thought that was really nice and beautiful. But we still have this dilemma, you guys, with Alexia and Marisol and the Anna and the Nicole and the Adriana of it all. And there's not all too much that happened in this episode, to be frank. It kind of just moved very quickly because a lot of this information is just regurgitated, in my opinion. I think it should have been clear, cut, and dry already that Nicole was not privy to anything that Adriana had plotted Anna to come in and do, which she didn't end up doing. However, a side note, I did just I saw Anna was back on with her daughter on David Yontef, and so I understand a little bit more. She's very much more vocal when she's on another platform. For some reason, she's not able to vocalize it to the individuals' faces. I'm not sure what that's about.
Well, and did you notice how nonchalant Adriana acted about the whole thing? She literally admits she was bringing Anna to talk about Alexia's finances. And she just made it, I don't know. It was so bizarre to me. It was almost like an art to the way Adriana was like, well, yeah, I felt like you were going after Lisa. So, I just figured we should go after you too. And it still was able, just, I don't understand. It's Alexia and Marisol. They are like piranhas about every little thing. And it was just like, whatever.
Those would be the last two I would try to start anything with,
Ever.
because the bros, when they come at you, it is intense and it is yada,
Mm-mm.
yada, yada. I would not want to be in that firestorm. Okay.
Mm-mm.
But the truth of the matter is that we hopefully try to get to some resolution, because it seems that, Nicole's intention to, going to see Julia walk and so on and so forth is so that she can get Adriana there to then clarify in front of the group, essentially, that she did not know what this background information was. She knew that she was being invited, but not about the whole coming in to wreck the finances and throw that out on the table. Now, before that, we see Lisa Hochstein with Jody going to look at a house out of her price range, because again, she still doesn't know how she's going to be paying for the house. So that's a bit strange, because why are you going to look at things when you don't even know what you can afford based on what Lenny's settlement is going to be based on this whole divorce proceeding? And it seems like Lenny is being a big dick about this.
What else is new?
No shocker there, but I
Mm-mm.
guess he's been dangling things in her face. And so maybe that's part of what we were seeing. Shout out to Jody for, I mean, that's got to be tough.
If he played a drinking game of how many times he hears the name Lenny, he would no longer be alive. Let me just
No,
say that.
he would be under a table for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, don't play that drinking game at home. See how many
No.
gets brought up on the show.
You will also be under the table getting a liver transplant.
But we see a house that she goes to look at. It's about 5.4 million. Yikes. And it is a nice house, nice property, obviously. But then it comes down to the logistics, and we're still like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be under Lenny's thumb, but I still got to wait to see what, I'm going to get out of this. And, at this point, she's trying to prepare herself because she's still technically allowed to live in her house, but she knows that Lenny's going to basically file a motion to try to get her out ASAP. So she wants to be prepared, rightfully so. I just wish she would have gone way under the financial radar just for the time being, not permanently, but do a short-term lease just to get out of there quickly, get the kids out of there so you don't have to deal with that day-to-day stuff. But it seems that Jody's being very supportive, and he's going to be with her throughout the whole process. Now, a lot of people are questioning what's Jody's motive here. I don't know exactly, outside of, he's not getting money out of her. That's not it. So is it?
No, I think he just really
fame?
likes her.
I think he really genuinely does too. Like, I don't think it's out of any other reason or ulterior motive. Yes, for fame to help promote his businesses, but he's not promoting his businesses on there, and she doesn't even let him talk that much. So it's not like.
And he was engaged, about to get married to someone else when they met, I thought.
He was. Which, yeah, no, I don't think I'm allowed to tell that story. But anyways, there is a story there.
Okay.
But so we see that she's still in this place of not understanding where her finances are. I can just tell she probably doesn't even know like where to even begin. She's just kind of just monotonously going to look at things, which I find to be worse than knowing what you're walking into, because then you might like something and then find out you can't actually get it. That's what
exactly
that would be my problem.
I'd fall in love with something and I'd be like, what? What do you mean? It's only 20 mil.
Gosh. First of all, last week we discussed the $45,000 a month rental condo situation, which still blows my mind that anybody would spend that on that, specifically that condo that they looked at. But that you guys can go check that one out if you are really interested in us, how we broke that down financially. We're, girl, gay math. But, you know, then we get to Gertie. And as we learned last week, towards the tail end of the episode, unfortunately, Gertie had to go back in, get another surgery to clear out some more of the cancer cells that they were not able to get out the first time. And she's out to lunch, it seems, with her husband, who is the rock star of this, of all the franchises, in my opinion. I mean, he's
yes.
like, good on
Get
him.
you a Russell, y'all. Get you a Russell.
Yes.
I mean, wow.
Absolutely. He is just exactly the type of husband you would want to have in a situation like that. But I like that he was keeping it real with Gertie, because in the moment, Gertie was doing what I think a lot of us would have done. Like, I don't even care if this doesn't work, then I'm out, I'm done. And he's like, no, there's a big possibility that it could happen again. And this is something we're going to have to learn to face head on. And she's calamari, and she's like, not right now. Not right now, Russell. I get it, but I don't care. Like, I don't want to keep dealing with these emotions. I thought after the first surgery, I was going to be in the clear. And now I'm going back and forth, back and forth. It just seems like it keeps getting worse, which I understand, because from that side of it, it's like, that's already a traumatic thing to have to deal with. And like, surgery, I mean, I am definitely afraid of surgery just from the anesthesia, not the actual surgery. It's the anesthesia that freaks me out. So like, all of that being said, like, I agree with Russell, and I'm happy that he's being like tough enough and keeping her in check, but also graceful enough and allowing her to have the space to feel her feelings.
Yeah, Russell's very much like, you may be a real housewife, honey, but we are in the real world as well. And he's not going to let Gertie just kind of float out into outer space, because she's larger than life with her personality and all of her success. So it would be easy, but he's like, no, honey, no, we've known each other for a very long time. We're going to keep it real. And, sometimes people can kind of take that as someone being pessimistic, but there's a difference between us being pessimistic and assuming a negative outcome, and keeping yourself in reality where, okay, there is the possibility of what the truth could be. And let's prepare ourselves for both. He wasn't assuming the worst. He was saying, let's also consider it and be prepared for it, because that's the way it has to. That's how I can be at times. And I think I'm a positive person, and I think it can be very easily, like I said, misconstrued, but I just adore their relationship, and I love seeing a man cater to his woman.
Absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of crappy guys on these shows, let's be honest.
So many.
It's just a breath of fresh air to have a guy who is seemingly normal and isn't doing shady stuff to make money. He's wholeheartedly like invested in this relationship and his family. And he's a protector. And you can tell that he's very much guarding her in any way that he can, emotionally, mentally, etc. But we get to the first swim week of it all. And this is where Julia is going to be walking her first show in what was, I believe, 20 years. Insane.
Insane is right. And you could tell she was so nervous at first. She was like, what am I doing here? And she was probably having so many flashbacks. I mean, it would be like my ass stepping up on a pageant stage and putting on a gown and those 5.5-inch heels. I'd be like, what am I doing?
I think I would probably panic as soon as I got backstage and saw like, oh my gosh, this is all the same, but all the faces are different. And it's like time lapsed 20 years later. And I'm not the same person I was when I did this 20 years ago. So it's like
being next to the spring chickens, I'd be like, your belly button stays in one place. Mine jiggles. So why doesn't yours do that?
She FaceTimes her daughter and Martina, who seem to be in Paris, Patty. And, she's obviously very excited, but she's very nervous. And so, the show begins. The ladies are there to support her. Now, Nicole is only going to be able to stay for the first show because she already had tickets to go to something else with her husband, but
For the Stanley Cup or something.
she did show up to support Julia, and it was nice to see. I really was hoping for a little bit more of a resolution after this runway walk when the ladies went outside to discuss things. And listen, Adriana has the balls of a burglar, you guys. I do not understand for the life of me how she can just sit there nonchalantly the way that she did. Because again, Julia had to force her hand last week, but this week she was just like, yeah, I did it. I wanted her to talk about your, finances. What in the world? Like, did you not learn anything last season? I really feel like she really likes going for those too. I know she's known them the longest, so they probably have this type of banter. And maybe this is also why they're not super shocked at this point that she did bring Anna for that reason. But I still feel like they found a way to still try to turn it on Nicole, even when Nicole had everything laid out and was like, I swear to you, I did not know that bit of information. Like, Adriana, please tell them I had nothing to do with this, because again, here she gets land blasted by the bros, and they're like, they don't let up on her, especially Alexia. She's like, as soon as she starts yelling and going, it's like she's going.
She knows nothing but her being right, Alexia, at that point. And their whole point of proof being that there was a place card with the name Anna on it. So what? She was told she was bringing Anna. Adriana did not say to Nicole that she was going to be exposing Alexia's finances. It's just like, girls, get it together, bros. Come on.
Well, the only other person that knew that intention was Julia, which is why Julia had a guilty conscience and was like, no, you need to, you can't say that and have that intention and then try to pretend like you don't know what's going on now and let Nicole take the heat. That's not fair. So
if it weren't for Julia, Adriana would have let Nicole take all of that and said 100%. Nothing.
100%. Thank God for Julia, which I'm sure is going to ripple into the friendship between Adriana and Julia, because I can already feel it, because the dynamics are shifting just a touch. We're seeing Alexia push back on Marisol a little bit more. We're seeing Julia and Alexia get a little closer. So it's definitely going to spin on its head, more than likely. Coincidentally, today they filmed the reunion. They probably are still currently filming it as we speak. But yeah, so they, wrap up the conversation, because again, Nicole's got to go. So I'm glad she made enough time to settle that. And it seemed like they were putting a pin in it for now, kind of. No one was really going to give her a clear status on the situation, but they were like, okay, maybe I believe you.
Just because they still wanted to be right. I think that's all it was. They didn't want to,
and they don't like to say they're wrong. They never want to admit they're wrong. And that's classic Marisol and Alexia. But then we get to Kiki's swim show, and she gets to walk, and she's in her element. She is like, hello, move over, Naomi Campbell. I mean, she is stunning. A gazelle on the runway, like the longest legs.
I mean, you look at her and just everything about her says model. And then she opens her mouth and she's hysterical on top of that.
Which I find to be the best of both worlds. I love someone who's that stunning and then has the best sense of humor ever and is funny and witty, which makes sense actually because we just learned how rough it was for her at 15 to have to be thrown out of her family essentially and be fending for herself. So you got to have a sense of humor, baby, if you got that much trauma. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now this is where, but first of all, I forgot to mention Larsa was late as per usual. Not that she probably was rushing to get to Julia's runway show, but she was at Kiki's at the very least. But now the show ends, and now it's time for Kiki's swim week party. Okay. Now I'm now getting really perplexed, and I don't know if you were confused as well, but We see them get on the Sprinter van to go to said party. And then I don't know, something happens. And then I don't know if there was traffic or was taking a lot longer to get out. I'm not quite certain because they didn't really make it clear. But then all of a sudden they started dropping like flies. Like Lisa's
They
like,
all got a
oh gosh, what
text to
time
a
is
better
it?
party.
Like, what the heck is going on? They one by one all got
They
the Sprinter
they
van.
all got the text to go to a different party that they thought was going to be better. That's the only thing I can think of because that was just so rude. And Kiki had made it very explicitly clear that she wanted and needed their support at that party. She was doing it for them. That broke my heart. And, Kiki, she is fiery. And we hadn't seen a lot of that fire in her this season. But, oh, honey, it's coming. And you know what?
And now I understand where it's coming from and why.
Well, it's going to be deserved too. What the hell?
She's been
That's so
nothing but kind
rude.
to all of them and super supportive. She shows up at
Yes.
all of their events. She doesn't pull any
Yes.
crap. And now they all drop like flies on her at the last. You literally just got on the Sprinter van, and because you had waited too long, you got a text. I think you're right. I think they got a text to go to a better party, and they were like, "We got to go."
Mm-hmm.
That's foul. I'm just gonna say that.
Mm-hmm. That was my
So I
take
hope she
because,
rips their asses apart next week or whenever it comes. I know her and Lisa are gonna get into it,
well, they were
but
all on their phones. Surely they were texting each other.
that pisses me off even more.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
we've all
rude.
been there. We've all been
Oh,
there. That's
yes.
why it's so triggering. All of a
Yes.
sudden, you think it's going this way, and then all of a sudden people start leaving and they all disperse, and there's nothing you can do about it, but it's hurtful.
Yep. What are you going to do?
Fuming. But
Mm-hmm.
what Kiki is going, she's a strong woman, and I'm absolutely sure she's going to hand everyone their asses. So
Good.
we leave that to then go hang out. Well, Alexia comes to visit Julia at her farm with the goats, which I don't think Alexia does well at all around animals.
No,
At all. Like
it
she
doesn't strike
really
me.
can't handle it. It's very like, I don't want to even be near them. It's very like triggering for her in a weird way. Like she can't deal
She just
with
thinks they're
even a
gross, I think.
dog like being close to her. But her and Julia have a little sit down. And I'm going to be honest, I really am enjoying watching this friendship unfold because I feel like Julia is bringing out a different side of Alexia.
A softer one.
Yeah. Like she's almost bringing out this more feminine energy in her and making her a little bit softer and a little bit more empathetic and not so harsh and like bro. But
Yeah.
then Alexia has this amazing idea that it's time for another girls' trip. And why not do Mexico City? Because it's going to be Pride. Julia, we love Pride. So why not go? And also, I don't remember, I don't want to butcher the saint's name because I don't even think I can remember it, but there's a saint apparently as well that Alexia speaks of where she prayed to the saint when her son was in that horrific accident, and she really believes that that is what got them through that. It was her faith and all of that. So she feels like it could be good also for Gertie to go because that could be healing for her, and clearly it's done wonders for Alexia and her son's situation. So why not, hopefully she can go. But the only issue with this is that we don't really know if Gertie would be able to go because we don't really know what comes out of the surgery until we get the update when we see Gertie at home in bed again, resting from said surgery, the second one. And again, she's got her beautiful family there, entertaining her, being there, showering her with love and support. And I really felt horrible for her because it just felt like she got knocked down 2 more steps. You know what I mean? And I can't even imagine. I really can't, because it's like everything. And then you're filming the show.
And it's the thing that you never imagine is going to happen to you. So, of course, we would get it fixed the first time. Of course. Okay, fine. Of course, we got it taken care of the second time. So, I just, yeah, my heart breaks for her. And I don't, it doesn't seem like she goes on the trip. And I kind of hope for her sake that she doesn't, only for the sense that she just needs some time away from these cuckoo birds.
And the cameras, because I can imagine too.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
I mean, catch me on a wrong day. If there's cameras around, that's adding to it. You know what I mean? But if you're like
Yes.
in that situation and you're like, just had surgery and then people have got to pile into your house, put up lights, put a mic on you,
Oh
like
my God. I'm on Percocet. Hell
two
no.
cameramen standing in your bedroom for hours just trying to capture something. Like
No.
that's adding so much stress, I can imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, I'm someone I've had, um, when I say a few surgeries, I'm not saying I've had all this plastic surgery. It's not been surgery like that. It's just, I've had plenty of surgeries and like I loathe having to take the painkillers because I just hate that feeling of just, ugh. And so, speaking of that, it starts hitting her as she's trying to play cards with Russell and her son. And then she gets the call. I mean, I would be like, I'd have to go straight to sleep. I
Me too.
mean, I wouldn't, most people can't stay awake when they take painkillers. So, on top of that, then I've got to watch my words and not say something stupid. And, it would just be impossible for me. I don't know how she's doing it.
I don't either. I really, my hat's off to her because I
Mm,
would have bowed out probably and been like, sorry guys, I can't, I just physically can't, mentally I can't. Um,
no.
but she's a tough cookie. And so that showed through. And so she does get a FaceTime call from Alexia, who
Mhm,
is calling to check in on her and all that. And Gertie, I guess, not really certain. I guess there's a certain level that they test for to determine how
mhm,
likely it is that this cancer could resurface or come back. And technically, they would like you to be under 25, whatever that number means on a scale. She came in at a 29.
mhm.
So that was another like punch to the gut because now, we just had the second surgery. We have to wait for those results come back to ensure that the cancer cells were removed. But now it's this other test is showing that she's still highly likely to get it to come back. So chemo's definitely in order,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Radiation, obviously, and then there's the talk of the mastectomy, which she absolutely doesn't want to do because she talked about this at lunch with Russell earlier. She's
Mhm.
absolutely not there. She's not wanting to go down that road. Um, and then she gets emotional, rightfully so, and
Yeah.
she's high on Percocet. So everything is just happening to her.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and the mastectomy, I think a lot of people think it's not as big of a thing, and especially if a female does, let's say, a double mastectomy and then they go ahead and have implants put in, they're you're going from having your like if you don't have implants and you're going from having your own body, your normal like these boobs have been with you for as many years as you had them, and then suddenly getting implants that like you feel that on your chest and it's a different feeling, and then you have new scars, and then your nipples are gone from a mastectomy. And so a lot of women will get them tattooed on. And so
mhm.
I think a lot of people forget to consider all of it. It's yes,
So,
there are advancements, but
well,
still.
it's not just from the cosmetic. It's to your point. It's like it's something was taken away from you
And
permanently.
then added if you get the implants, and that's uncomfortable. Trust
Totally.
me.
And it's not, if that wasn't your first option and you were happy with your breasts, let's say, and now
Hmm.
you have to have implants because this is the way, I mean, not all of them have to do that, but the ones that choose to,
Right.
that figure, that look, yeah, that's what you end up having to do. And like my cousin did a double mastectomy, and that's exactly what they did.
Mm.
They tattooed
Yeah.
fabulously, but
Yeah.
it's still a mind fuck nonetheless to have that happen to you.
Yeah.
Um, so
Imagine waking up with no nipples.
I mean, like literally, like none, and then being
Hmm.
like just nothing, nothing. Like that's so traumatic. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
But Alexia also is calling to just kind of see where Gertie's at because she really does want her to come to Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're still not really clear if Gertie's going to be able to go. But,
Yeah.
again, Alexia brings up this saint. And forgive me, guys. You guys can let me know in the comments what the saint was. I should have wrote it down. But
I want to say it was like Gabriella or
Guadalupe,
something.
is it Guadalupe?
That sounds more, yeah. See, I think that was correct.
Guys, you can correct me in the comments. You always do. But I think it was the Guadalupe
Yeah, that sounds more correct.
Virgin.
Gabriella. Okay, Caitlin.
Um, it could be Gabriella, and I'm just
No, I think it's
Guadalupe,
Guadalupe. I
it's
think
like,
you're correct. Yeah.
but she's really adamant that this could be a healing journey, trip for Gertie spiritually, which I don't think Gertie disagreed with, but I think Gertie's overwhelmed with things right now, and I think she's still unclear about so much that is happening to her, and things have been moving so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, she's filming the show, so I don't even know what her schedule is even like in real life, because that's got to be nuts, like absolutely
Planning
nuts.
weddings and all of it.
Like, I hope she got someone to take over.
I'm sure she has colleagues and
Yeah, I hope
partners.
so. That's like, I mean, I know she did tell Russell at the lunch that she jumped back into working after the first surgery, which maybe that's the signal. Like, no, like maybe you need to take 5 steps back for real, and maybe you need to
Slow
cut
down.
back
Mm-hmm.
for a better quality of life. I mean, I get where she's coming from, pound the pavement, punch the gas pedal, but at what cost?
Exactly.
So I'm still fuming about Kiki and
I know.
being left on that Sprinter van. I can't even tell you
It's
how
heartbreaking.
it was. I was so upset for her.
It
It's
felt
just
like watching someone like throw themselves a birthday party when they were in middle school and then everyone shows up and leaves. It's like they showed up for the part that would be in front of a lot of cameras where they could be like, "Oh, that's my friend." And then when it was time to really show up for her personally, nowhere to be found.
I hope she gets each and every single one of those girls that got off that Sprinter van and makes them eat shit, because that
Gather
is
those bitches.
the rudest juvenile crap. You guys are
Mhm.
acting like you are in your 20s and you got invited to a cooler party at someone else's house. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are grown ass women. Half of you don't even know where you're going to be living soon, but you're concerned about going to a party.
I
That's
mean, I have
rude.
no proof that's
But
what
where else were you
happened,
going
but
in such a rush that you weren't going to be able to stay at the party? Because you weren't going to be at the party for 30 minutes.
and that's the thing too. Like the only one that it could make sense that I would believe they were saying they were going to go home is Lisa if her kids are there.
Okay, but do I believe she went straight home?
No.
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 I guarantee you that Kiki will call it out either at the reunion that's filming today,
Mm-hmm,
or
girl.
it'll come up later in the season where those women went in reality. Because I don't listen. What did you guys go do? Go get an Uber?
Right, because they're the traffic. That's also what I'm saying. Like, I almost wonder if they like were close to a spot that they suddenly were like, "Oh, what if we just get out here? I don't want to go anymore. What if we all just get out here and we all just go home, say we're going home and we can just walk over to this spot?"
That makes it worse to me.
That's what makes sense in my mind if they were sitting in that traffic. Marisol saying she has a stomach ache. No, it's because there was no alcohol on the van. Was there? I didn't see any alcohol.
No, I didn't. But I think also that Sprinter van was just a transportation quickly
Yes.
party. Why would you put alcohol? Like, really, you can't go.
Well, it's Marisol.
I know, but then bring your own shit, girl,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. But that's part of where my brain was going. I was like, your stomach isn't just hurting like that. Come on.
Well, it's hurting because of withdrawal then.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can sense when people who struggle with alcohol, yeah, they can't wait that 2-hour period. They have to get that booze.
I wanted to get your thought on Larsa and Marcus's podcast. I know I didn't go into it because there wasn't really much to go into. I don't even know why we're seeing these scenes because it doesn't make me want to listen or partake in their podcast really. So like what are you do you think she really wants the podcast or do you think she's just doing it because it's an opportunity?
She's just doing it because it's an opportunity. And who like can listen to Larsa like talk? Like we missed you guys.
That
There's a
Kardashian
reason
voice.
there's a reason the Kardashians don't have podcasts. And I would rather listen to Kim than Larsa talk. Okay.
1000%. I don't know
Kim's
what
voice isn't as put on.
did Larsa like literally ordered a Wish version of Kim K and Paris Hilton's voice and just like swallowed it and was like, this is how I'm going to talk. I am going to say though, I'm glad I remembered this. Did you see how they somehow let her use a clip from Keeping Up Keeping Up with the
It
Kardashians when Kourtney was getting her egg retrieval?
only because E is part of the NBC Universal family. That's the only reason they could.
Okay, because that
Yeah.
was my question. I was like, how in the hell did she
Sister
finagle
station.
that?
I know, sister station. That's why. Mm-hmm.
I was like, man.
Only I know. I know. I it was almost jarring, but not at the same time. It was bizarre. It was too, I don't know if it was too meta for me or not
Yeah,
to
like I was like,
actually
what?
see
Why am I
on
watching
Miami of all shows, you know?
I'm literally watching a clip from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like, how did this happen? How are they allowing this to them of all people? They would have called Ian, like, you give her that clip and we will ruin you. Like,
Well, and then on top of that, how different Larsa still looks from even more recent times when Kourtney was getting her eggs frozen. Larsa doesn't look, she got a full blown head and body transplant. It is so bizarre. She transplanted her voice. She's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it was like I don't know, an experiment gone wrong with an extra Kardashian they wanted to see if they could make money off of. Look at me conspiracizing.
no, but I mean, honestly, because Jeff said last night, he was like, why does she look so much older? And I was like, because she's got all this filler in her face and it's starting to move. And you can tell, like, by the
Modeled.
jawline where it's starting to sag. Because, again, guys, ladies, gays, theys, if you're going to go get filler to plump up your face, just keep in mind that when that filler dissolves, the skin is stretched out. So now you've got to add
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more each time. And there's
Go
only
get
so
some
much
laser.
filler. Just go get a facial. There's so many other things you can do to tighten the skin now that does not involve injecting it with things. Please, please, please think twice before you go and get injectables in your face.
Yeah.
I'm
That's why I
telling
haven't done it. That's why, because I'm scared of what happens in that period of time when it's not fresh and hasn't just settled in. Y'all look into old therapy if you want to tighten shit up. It's not going to make your face fuller, but it's a better option than putting filler in your jaw. And also, you know what actually does help? Chew a shit ton of gum. Unless you have TMJ, that actually will build your jaw muscles up. There you go.
1000%. They even have devices now that you can stick in the back of your
Oh
mouth
my God, yeah.
that you like literally work your jaw.
Mm-hmm.
You can even get Botox in your jaw to help with like the movement so that you're not getting this like sagginess. There's other ways. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
specifically in the cheek area, stop it.
Well,
Just
they
stop.
usually do it like you can see if you like are lifting up here that bad injectors. I shouldn't say it that way. They're not bad injectors. I guess I would say that it's now not considered best practice to treat nasal labial folds with cheek filler. Listen, I just sit and I lurk on everything I can research about it just so I can know if I ever do decide. Like, I've only done Botox like 4 times in my life and I'm 35 years old. Okay. I'm scared of everything because I'm like, what if I completely F up my face? God forbid.
I have been a Botox user for 13 years at this point. But
Hey,
the only other
that's
thing I've
working.
had in my face was I have some lip filler left. and I'm good where it's at because, you know, lip filler doesn't completely dissolve. So every time
Right.
you go, that's why sometimes you start to look a little like
See, that's what
Brielle and like
scares me too.
highly of it all. And then you have to go in and get it dissolved. And then that's a whole mess. So,
And I heard that's painful.
oh my, listen, I will just say this. I can handle pain like dangerously. Like sometimes it's like you shouldn't be able to handle that much pain because you should
Mm-hmm.
probably be at the hospital. But I'm like, no, I'm fine. Just give me an ice pack. Um, the lip filler, even with all the numbing and I'm grabbing onto the handles of the seat and clenching for dear life because it's not like they're just injecting like Botox where it's just like prick, prick, prick. It's like they're
Moving it
moving the
around.
needle, then they're jamming your lips together and molding it and making sure it's settling in properly. So it's a to do. So I can't even imagine having that stuff shot into my cheeks and then constantly looking like I have nuts in my mouth because some of it, you know, when you already have big cheeks and you get filler because you want to tighten, it doesn't tighten it. It just fills out the space and you look like a fuller, like you've been eating bread all day. Do you know what I'm
Like a
saying?
chipmunk. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that was about it, you guys. That wasn't I mean, this episode was not really anything to write home to. We
Next week,
still had
though.
some linger, but next week, yes. Next week. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot, excuse me. Adriana went into the studio to drop some beats with Emilio Esteban. And I don't know how this pairing came about, but good for her. But can we just talk about like you don't need to get dressed up like you're getting to do a music video to go in and record some vocals, Adriana. Like I know you're
Adriana
filming
does
the
because
show.
no, Adriana does because to her, it's not the usual. So she's not, sorry, Adriana, but you're not an actual music artist. Those people focus on their vocals when they go in. Oh my God, is she going to come for me now?
No, she probably loves it. I mean, she knows. She can't be serious with the singing. She's not a singer. Okay. I love Paris Hilton to death, but Paris will even tell you she's not a singer. Like
Right.
she's a performer, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even think Adriana's a performer. The music video, I'm sorry, love.
She just kind
God,
of
she's gonna come for me now. But like,
bop, 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 bop.
yeah, like I mean, look how hard it was for her just to film a music video last season. That director was gonna throw her into the ocean.
Every single one of them.
They were not like, hello, this time is money. We don't have any of the shots. The sun's going down. And she's just like, so yes. I mean, the get up was a little much. It was very much like Video Vixen, like, and you could just tell Amelia, like, he was just like, no, like, stop moving your head around. Just keep your face at the mic.
Just worry about the singing.
Focus. She's like,
Don't do the Kim Zolciak. Oh,
whoa, 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 whoa. God, I wish they would have released that song. You know, it would have been a bop. You know, Candy would have turned that final version into a bop. The ring don't mean a thing. Anyways, the ring doesn't mean a thing. But that's a whole other podcast
Clearly.
episode, Caitlin. I'm not getting into the Kim and Croy of it all because
Oh.
I can't. But guys, make sure if you're in the Denver area, is it Denver?
Oh, yes, it's Denver.
Please plug you guys. I'm so jelly. I'm not going to be in town for this because I know it's going to be Liddy City, as Zach Peter would say. But
yeah,
yes,
I'm so
tell
sad
everyone where the watch party is.
We're doing watch parties. Well, a watch party for part 3 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. And if you are in the Denver area, it will be at the Marigold Bar and that's in Denver, off of Welton Street. And that is going to be at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Tuesday, the 23rd. And then on Tuesday, the 30th at Mile High Spirits in Denver. I can't remember the street it is off of. I'm sure Google will help you. If you're in the Denver area, we are doing a premiere watch party there at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's going to be a good time. It's like doing a little mini BravoCon.
I love it. I'm so jelly. I hope next time there's enough advance time because I might just fly my ass out there.
Oh my God.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
And guys, if you have not yet checked out the Besties by Bravo podcast, where Caitlin and I are recapping part 2 of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, please go check it out. It's on all platforms. You can watch it on YouTube. please leave a 5-star review. It really does help us.
Please, it's free.
Where can everyone find you? I'm sure we've gone over this several times.
Yeah.
Just mind the newbies.
Yeah. So you can find me at Besties by Caitlin on Instagram and TikTok. It's Besties by Kate on X because they wouldn't give me the final letter in my name, apparently. And then on YouTube, it's Besties by Bravo and Besties by Bravo podcast, quite literally anywhere you listen. Anywhere. More
Well,
places than you'd like, probably.
you know what? There's always one platform that wants to screw you with the username. You know, you're like, who would have this? And then you go and type this is
Right.
not available. And it's like, well, how? Who
No,
are
they
these
just
people?
they said it was too long.
Of course. There's always a character limit. I always forget that on I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter.
So am I.
It sounds weird when I'm like X. Like it's not even a word, it's just a letter.
No.
Well, guys, you can also find me at Giorgio Says on pretty much everything except X. I think it's the real George. I don't even know what my X. I don't tweet. Sorry, guys. But
Rarely.
yes, you can find me on all platforms except X at Giorgio Says. The podcast is available everywhere you get your podcast. You can watch it on YouTube. And yeah, until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.